Occasionally, we stumble upon places, either natural or design, that require little intervention to fill a different purpose in the built environment. In Sweden, not far from the city of Rättvik, there exists an amphitheatre that seems both acoustically and aesthetically to be perfectly carved out of stone. You are listening to Tall Stories, a Monocle production brought to you by the team behind The Urbanist. I'm Carlotta Rebello. In this episode, Francesca Gilks takes us to a Swedish open-air amphitheatre built in a former limestone quarry.
The spring of 1991 brought with it two seemingly unrelated events in Sweden. The retirement of Margareta Delafors from Public Radio Sweden in Stockholm, and the closing of a limestone business in the rural county of Dalhalla. After centuries of limestone quarrying deep in the forests of Rättvik, one spring morning, machinery stopped and retreated. They left behind the closed-down quarry called Dragengarna, and not knowing what to do with the enormous hole in the ground, discussions began about using the site as a rubbish dump for the local area. Meanwhile, the newly retired Margareta Delafors was about to embark on her fourth career. She had been a primary school teacher, a singer at the Norwegian and Gothenburg operas, and the producer for music programs at Radio Sweden. She had now set her sights on developing a new opera festival venue. Rättvik's cultural director, Asa Newman, mentioned to her that Dragengarna had just closed down. That same day, she jumped in her car and drove inland to Rättvik to have a look for herself. Delafors was immediately bewitched by the Dragengarna, a sheer-sided white stone quarry that looked, to Margarete, almost like an amphitheatre, pooled with a bright blue lake and encircled by the thick, dark trees and mountains of Dalarna. The very same features, the steep 60-metre pit, the rugged limestone walls and the water, amplified sound while dampening echo, giving the quarry acoustics comparable with some of the best outdoor stages in the world. She christened it Dalhalla, after the region of Dalarna and Wagner's fictional Valhalla. The secret to Dalhalla's success is elemental, buried deep in its geological past. Almost 400 million years ago, one of the largest meteorites to ever hit the Earth's surface landed in Dalarna. The pressure from the impact caused a layer of sedimentary limestone to be blasted away from the crystal below. The strike then triggered tectonic movement which twisted the layers of limestone until they were almost vertical and ideal for quarrying, ripe for discovery by the limestone merchants who would, over hundreds of years, crater out the amphitheatre. Intuiting the singularity of what she had stumbled across, Delafors embarked on a relentless fundraising mission for the project, sending hundreds of letters to potential donors and getting a flurry of articles printed in national papers. One of these articles, in Svenska Dagbladet, was read by the architect Erik Anborg, who joined the project in December of 1992. By the following spring, after tireless fundraising and beating back skepticism from engineers about the viability of the project, and Rättvik locals who viewed the unwelcome imposition of opera into Dalarna, Sweden's folk music heart, with suspicion, she had finally raised the 4 million krona needed to begin building works. On the 13th of May, 1993, the first dynamite blast was fired by the Swedish soprano Brigitte Nilsson, broadcast live on Swedish TV. The first opera at Dalhalla, when the arena was complete, was similarly explosive and also broadcast on Swedish television. It took place on the 21st of June 1995, the same day as there was a terrible storm, which battered the arena and meant that the concert had to be stopped partway through. The disaster catapulted Dalhalla into the limelight, and it began to win fans outside Sweden. After the first, albeit disastrous concert, it became known for the feat of being able to stage an opera without electrical amplification, an original phenomenon in the opera world. Another original element was the lake, which Delafors had redirected to form a canal between the audience and the stage. Over the next 5 years, the venue went from strength to strength. It also began to host a greater diversity of music genres like punk, rock, and pop. Then, financial problems set in, and discord began to ferment between Margareta and the members of the board. Symbolically, the roof of the arena was ripped off by another storm during a performance of Wagner's The Ring in 1999. Internal politics continued, and Margareta gave up her position as artistic director in protest. She felt that the venue had lost its unique character, as by the mid-2000s it was mostly giving rock concerts with electronic amplification. The board, meanwhile, felt that she was failing to adapt to consumer demands and not embracing the full range of possibilities for Dalhalla. One of these included a fashion show in 2001 arranged by the Swedish clothing company Hennes & Mauritz, which saw top models including Grace Jones walk the Dalhalla stage. Margareta continued to make her dissatisfaction known and eventually was unceremoniously dethroned from the board itself. Since the mid-2000s, the unique venue has charmed acts like Iggy Pop, Patti Smith, New Order, Simple Minds, Sting and Miss Lauryn Hill. For most of them, Dalhalla was their only Swedish stop. The limestone amphitheatre continued to win new fans, hitting a new audience record of 60,000 in 2014. And over COVID, as concert programmes ground to a halt, the Dalhalla allowed a limited number of visitors to drive into the quarry in their motorhomes and spend the night by the Dalhalla lake. This year's summer season will kick off in June. The Dalhalla will welcome Neil Young, Bryan Adams, Judas Priest, Sting and Norah Jones. Dalhalla's original believers may lament the lack of classical music in the programme, but some may notice the centuries-old traditional folk music festivals happening elsewhere in Dalarna this summer and count the changed musical programme as another evolution in the region's distinctive musical identity.
Tall Stories is a Monocle production from the team behind The Urbanist. This episode was written by Francesca Gilks and produced and edited by David Stevens. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive new episodes every week. I'm Carlotta Rebello, and Rättvik will be back next week. Until then, goodbye and thank you for listening, City Lovers.